The Silent Watchers. Supreme Observer Val Theron watched the holographic display with growing frustration as another probe disappeared into the endless void of space. It marked the seventh failure in their attempts to penetrate Earth's defensive grid, though the humans didn't even seem to know it existed. That was the most maddening part of all. Another malfunction. Supreme Observer reported technical analyst Zinra, her crystalline form shifting in discomfort. The probe's systems simply ceased functioning. No warning, no distress signal. Just like the others. Val Theron's iridescent wings fluttered in agitation. The collective had conquered 37 civilizations across 3 galactic arms, yet this backwater planet had somehow stymied their most sophisticated surveillance technology. On the surface, Earth appeared to be exactly what their initial scan suggested. A developing civilization barely capable of lunar exploration, their orbital space cluttered with primitive satellites and space stations. But something wasn't right. It hadn't been right for the past 50 years of observation. "Show me the anomaly pattern again," Val Theron commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing a complex web of signal disruptions and probe disappearances stretching back decades. To an untrained eye, they would appear random. But Val Theron hadn't become Supreme Observer by accepting coincidences. "There's a geometric progression to the failures," Zinra noted, manipulating the display to highlight subtle patterns, almost as if they're testing our capabilities, Val Theron finished, methodically cataloging our every attempt at surveillance while making it appear completely natural. The implications were troubling. If humans were indeed capable of such subtle counterintelligence, everything else they thought they knew about Earth could be equally suspect. Their primitive spacecraft, their modest orbital presence, their seemingly divided planetary government, all could be an elaborate deception. New signal from the diplomatic delegation. Supreme Observer, announced Communications Officer Keltor. The humans have agreed to formal first contact negotiations. They seem eager. Of course they were eager. What primitive civilization wouldn't jump at the chance to join the collective? The benefits were substantial. Advanced technology, medical breakthroughs, faster than light travel. All it required was submission to collective authority and acceptance of their guidance in all matters of interstellar importance. Yet something in the humans' ready acceptance gnawed at Val Theron's intuition. "Deploy the passive quantum resonance scanners," he ordered. "Full spectrum, maximum range. I want to know what's happening beneath the surface of those oceans." "Supreme Observer," Zinra protested, "the energy requirements for a planetary scan of that magnitude will be considerable, yes. But I need to know what we're walking into." Val Theron moved closer to the holographic representation of Earth, studying its swirling cloud patterns and vast oceanic expanses. No species has ever accepted collective oversight without at least some resistance. The humans are either impossibly naive, or they're playing a game we don't yet understand. The quantum scanners deployed, spreading out in a geometric pattern around Earth's orbit. For several tense minutes, the command center was silent save for the soft hum of equipment and the occasional crystalline chiming of the crew's movements. "Initial results coming in," Zinra announced. "Surface readings are consistent with previous scans, but there's something odd about the deep ocean trenches. The signal seems to be reflecting. No, that's not quite right. It's as if the energy is being absorbed and redirected in ways that shouldn't be possible with Earth's known level of technology." Val Theron's wings ceased their agitated movement entirely, a sign of intense focus among his species. "Enhance the scanning resolution. Focus on the anomalous regions." The holographic display zoomed in on one of Earth's deeper ocean trenches, the Mariana. The quantum readings became increasingly erratic, showing patterns that defied conventional physics. It was as if vast portions of the trench simply didn't exist in normal spacetime. "Supreme Observer," Zinra's voice had taken on an edge of worry. "I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with advanced quantum shielding technology. But the scale, it's unprecedented. The entire trench network appears to be A facade, Val Theron finished grimly, a carefully constructed illusion hiding something massive beneath. How long would it take a civilization to construct infrastructure of this scale? Assuming they started from our estimated technological baseline, Zinwar performed rapid calculations, centuries, at minimum. But that would mean they detected our presence long before we thought first contact was even possible, Val Theron said. Every primitive satellite launch, every clumsy attempt at space exploration, every seemingly random probe malfunction, all part of an elaborate performance. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. The collective had thought they were studying a young civilization, ripe for absorption into their empire. Instead, they had been the ones under observation all along. New transmission from Earth, Keltor announced, his crystalline form vibrating with uncertainty. They're requesting to move up the diplomatic meeting. They say they have a compelling proposition to discuss. Val Theron stared at the holographic Earth, its oceans now seeming less like empty expanses and more like veils concealing unknown powers. For the first time in his long career as Supreme Observer, he felt something he had never experienced before. Fear of what they might discover. Accept the meeting, he ordered finally, but double the security contingent, and have the fleet ready for immediate withdrawal if necessary. As the crew rushed to comply with his orders, Val Theron continued to study the quantum scan readings. The humans had orchestrated a deception of unprecedented scale and patience. The only question remaining was, what would they do now that they knew their secret had been discovered? The answer, he suspected, would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. Project Leviathan. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the observation deck of Atlantis Command, watching massive fabrication units construct yet another quantum drive warship in the vast underwater cavern. 300 years of preparation had led to this moment, and she could feel the weight of generations of secrecy and sacrifice pressing down on her shoulders like the miles of ocean above. Final reports from Surface Intelligence, Admiral. Commander Jackson said, approaching with a holographic display. The collective's quantum scanners detected our deflection grid. They know something's here, but not what. Helena allowed herself a small smile. Right on schedule. Surveillance section predicted they'd attempt a deep scan once we accepted their diplomatic overture too easily. Are the quantum mirrors functioning as designed? Perfect efficiency, ma'am. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see. Just enough anomalies to make them nervous, but not enough to reveal our true capabilities. The fabrication bay below them hummed with activity as automated systems assembled the latest addition to humanity's hidden fleet. The vessel under construction was a Poseidon-class battleship, nearly 3 kilometers long and incorporating technologies that would make the collective's most advanced ships look like primitive rockets in comparison. Status of the Leviathan network. Helena asked, turning away from the window. Jackson's holographic display shifted, showing a real-time map of Earth's oceans. Dozens of massive underwater bases lit up like stars in the deep, each one housing thousands of ships and millions of personnel. What had begun as desperate preparation for survival had evolved into the most ambitious military project in human history. All bases report ready for emergence, Jackson confirmed. The quantum displacement systems are charged, and all ships are crewed and combat-ready. We can have the entire fleet surfaced and deployed within 15 minutes of your command. Helena nodded, walking to the central command table where a holographic representation of the collective's diplomatic fleet hung in the air. 12 ships, including their massive flagship, had entered orbit for the scheduled negotiations. They thought they were being cautious by bringing such overwhelming firepower to meet with a primitive civilization. They still don't understand what they're looking at, Dr. Sarah Morrison, Chief of Scientific Development, said as she joined them at the table. Our quantum masking technology doesn't just hide our installations, it actively prevents their sensors from properly processing what little data they do receive. Even now, they think they're dealing with simple signal reflection and technological anomalies. Helena studied the collective ship's positions and the Prometheus protocol. Ready for deployment, Morrison confirmed, her voice carrying a hint of pride. 3 centuries of studying their transmissions and probe technology gave us everything we needed to develop countermeasures. Once activated, the protocol will disable their quantum communication network. Their fleet will be effectively blind and isolated. The room fell silent as a massive shape moved past the observation window, another completed warship being moved to its holding position. In the artificial canyons they'd carved beneath the oceans, millions of such vessels waited, not just warships, but research vessels, exploration ships, and massive colony ships capable of transporting entire cities. Latest intelligence from Deep Space Division, Jackson reported, updating the holographic display. We've confirmed the collective subjugation of the Centauri colonies. That makes 23 species they forced into their empire in the past century alone. Helena's expression hardened. And how many of those species requested assistance in breaking free? All of them, Admiral. The latest came from the Proxima Resistance just this morning. They're ready to coordinate with our emergence whenever we give the signal. The Admiral placed her hand on the command table, studying the complex network of alliances and resistance movements they'd secretly built over the centuries. While the collective thought they were dealing with a naive, isolated species, humanity had been methodically preparing not just for their own defense, but for the liberation of an entire galaxy. Send word to all commands, Helena ordered. Operation Watershed begins in 6 hours. I want every ship in final position and all personnel at battle stations. The moment the collective realizes their diplomatic mission has failed, they'll attempt to call in reinforcements. And that's when we spring the trap, Morrison added with grim satisfaction. Exactly. Helena turned back to the window, watching as yet another massive ship disappeared into the underwater shadows. For 300 years, we've hidden our strength, letting them think we were primitive, divided, and weak. We've watched them subjugate world after world, always promising ourselves, never Earth, never humanity. The command center hummed with increased activity as preparation orders went out to the hidden fleet. In bases beneath every ocean, crews moved to their stations. Ships powered up weapons systems that would rewrite the galaxy's understanding of warfare. Quantum computers spun up algorithms designed to shatter the collective's communications and control networks. Send a message to the Resistance Network, Helena commanded. Tell them to be ready. The tide is about to turn. As her orders were relayed, Admiral Chen allowed herself a moment to appreciate the sheer audacity of what humanity had achieved. They had turned their greatest perceived weakness, being confined to a water world, into their greatest strength. The oceans that the collective thought limited humanity's development had instead become the perfect cover for building the largest and most advanced fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Final message from the collective diplomatic fleet. Admiral, Jackson reported. They're requesting permission to begin their descent for the negotiations. Helena smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Permission granted. Let's welcome them properly to Earth. It's time they learned why you should never judge a species by its surface appearance. Throughout the hidden network of bases and shipyards, millions of crew members took their stations. In less than 6 hours, the galaxy's balance of power would shift forever. Humanity's long vigil in the depths was about to end, and with it, the collective's reign of forced assimilation would begin to crumble. The tide was rising, and not even the mighty collective would be able to stop it. First Contact's deception. The United Nations Assembly Hall in New York had been chosen for the diplomatic meeting deliberately. Its dated architecture and classical design reinforced the image of Earth as a developing civilization, while its location near the Atlantic Ocean suited humanity's true purposes perfectly. Supreme Observer Val Theron and his delegation sat across from Earth's representatives, his crystalline form refracting the morning sunlight that streamed through the tall windows. The human delegation, led by Secretary General Maria Santos, maintained expressions of polite interest and barely concealed awe, all carefully rehearsed. "We are honored by the collective's interest in Earth," Santos began, her voice carrying just the right note of diplomatic humility. "Though we must admit, we're curious why such an advanced civilization would take notice of our modest achievements." Valtheron's wings shifted in what his species considered a gesture of benevolent superiority. "The collective has long monitored developing civilizations, Secretary General. We believe in guiding younger species toward their full potential, under proper supervision, of course." In the secure command center deep beneath the Atlantic, Admiral Chen watched the exchange through quantum-encrypted feeds. "Status of collective fleet. Maintaining high orbit, Admiral," Commander Jackson reported. "Their weapons systems are powered but inactive. They're confident but cautious." Back in the assembly hall, Valtheron was explaining the benefits of joining the collective. "Access to our technology would advance your civilization by centuries. Your primitive space program could be transformed overnight. Your energy concerns, environmental challenges, all solved through collective guidance." Santos nodded thoughtfully. "And in return, merely acceptance of collective oversight in all matters of interstellar importance. A small price for such benefits, wouldn't you agree?" In the underwater command center, Chen watched various tactical displays showing the positions of countless hidden vessels. Everything was in place. She opened a secure channel to Santos. "The Prometheus protocol is ready. You may proceed with Phase 2. Santos' expression shifted subtly as she received the confirmation. "Supreme Observer, before we continue, there's something we'd like to share with you." She gestured to an aide, who activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. Valtheron's crystalline form stiffened as the image appeared, a perfect representation of his fleet's current formation above Earth. "I don't understand. Your technology shouldn't be capable of detecting your ships, of tracking their movements." Santos smiled. "Supreme Observer, humanity has been capable of far more than you realize for a very long time." The hologram expanded, showing not just the collective fleet, but a vast network of quantum sensors surrounding Earth, technology that should have been centuries beyond human capability. Valtheron's wings fluttered in agitation. "This is impossible. Our scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show," Santos finished. "For 3 centuries, we've maintained a careful illusion of technological inferiority while preparing for this very moment." In orbit, the collective fleet's sensors suddenly blazed with warnings as quantum distortions began appearing throughout Earth's oceans. The water itself seemed to part as massive structures began to rise. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands of advanced warships, each one larger and more sophisticated than anything in the collective's arsenal. "Impossible," Valtheron whispered, watching through the assembly hall windows as massive vessels broke the surface of the Atlantic, water cascading from quantum-hardened hulls that dwarfed his own flagship. "Your species couldn't have hidden such a force in the only place your sensors couldn't effectively penetrate," Santos confirmed. "Our oceans became our shield, our fortress, and ultimately, our shipyards. While you watched our primitive space program, we built an armada unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen." Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the assembly hall speakers. "Supreme Observer Valtheron, this is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships are now surrounded by over 5 million vessels of various classes, all incorporating technologies far beyond your current understanding." The hologram updated to show the true scale of Earth's fleet as it emerged from every ocean on the planet. The collective ships, once seemingly impressive, now appeared tiny and vulnerable in comparison. The quantum anomalies, Valtheron realized. The probe malfunctions over the decades, all carefully orchestrated, Santos explained. "We needed to understand your capabilities while keeping our own hidden. Every satellite we launched contained advanced sensors. Every diplomatic exchange was an intelligence-gathering operation. Every seemingly primitive space mission helped us perfect our deception." In orbit, the collective fleet found itself completely encircled by Earth vessels. Their quantum communications were silent, cut off by the Prometheus protocol. They were isolated, outgunned, and facing a force that had just revealed centuries of hidden technological advancement. But why? Val Theron demanded. Why maintain such an elaborate deception? Admiral Chen's voice carried a note of steel. Because we've watched how the collective treats primitive civilizations. We've seen you manipulate, divide, and ultimately enslave species across the galaxy. We needed time. Time to build not just a defense force, but a liberation fleet. Santos stood, her diplomatic facade falling away to reveal the confident leader of a highly advanced civilization. Supreme Observer, we're not here to negotiate joining the collective. We're here to inform you that the collective's policy of forced assimilation ends today. Through the windows, more massive ships continued to rise from the oceans, their quantum drives humming with power that made the air itself vibrate. Each vessel represented decades of hidden technological development, centuries of sacrifice and secrecy, all leading to this moment of revelation. Val Theron looked at his own fleet, hopelessly outnumbered and surrounded, then back to the human leaders. For the first time in his long diplomatic career, he found himself completely at a loss for words. Santos' next statement would reshape the galaxy forever. Now shall we discuss the terms of the collective's surrender. The uprising tide. The next 48 hours transformed the galaxy's balance of power completely. As Earth's massive fleet maintained its iron grip around the collective's diplomatic delegation, carefully coordinated uprisings erupted across 24 subjugated worlds. Centuries of human preparation had laid the groundwork for this moment, and now the tide of liberation was impossible to stop. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Hyperion, Earth's flagship, watching tactical displays show the spread of rebellion across collective space. Each glowing point represented a carefully placed asset, a resistance movement armed and trained in secret by human operatives who had posed as simple merchants and traders for generations. Proxima Centauri has declared independence, Commander Jackson reported, updating the strategic display. The collective's garrison surrendered after our stealth fleet revealed itself in orbit. Similar reports coming in from Ta Ceti and the Sirius colonies. Val Theron, now a guest aboard the Hyperion, watched in stunned silence as his empire crumbled. How long? He finally asked. How long have you been planning this? Since we first detected your probe at the edge of our solar system, 300 years ago, Chen replied, her voice carrying the weight of generations of preparation. We knew immediately that it wasn't natural. Its quantum signature was too precise, too artificial. That's when we made our choice. The tactical display shifted to show the Arcturus sector, where another collective fleet had just discovered they were surrounded by human vessels that had been hiding in plain sight for decades, disguised as asteroid clusters through advanced quantum mimicry. Instead of announcing ourselves to the galaxy, Chen continued, we watched. We learned. We saw how the collective operated, offering technology in exchange for sovereignty, promising protection while taking freedom. So we built something unprecedented, a liberation force hidden beneath Earth's oceans. In the Vega system, a massive collective military installation suddenly found itself facing an entire fleet that seemed to materialize from nowhere, emerging from subspace pockets that humanity had secretly installed years ago. The installation surrendered without firing a shot. But it wasn't enough just to hide our ships. Chen explained to the stunned Supreme Observer. We needed to ensure that when we finally revealed ourselves, the change would be immediate and irreversible. Every trade mission we sent out carried quantum entanglement devices, distributed to resistance fighters. Every cultural exchange helped us identify potential allies. Every seemingly primitive communication satellite launched contained advanced quantum sensors and subspace transmitters. Commander Jackson's console lit up with new reports. Admiral, the Centaurian resistance has secured their planetary defense grid. The collective's remaining forces in the sector are cut off from reinforcement. Val Theron's crystalline form shifted in what might have been despair. You didn't just build a fleet, he realized. You created an entire shadow network throughout our territory. We had to, Chen replied simply. The collective's control was too extensive for a simple military victory to suffice. We needed to break your grip everywhere simultaneously, or you would simply regroup and return in force. The tactical display updated again, showing the status of various liberation operations. Green indicators spread across the galaxy map like a rising tide, marking successful uprisings and collective surrenders. Red points indicating resistance were becoming increasingly rare. Incoming transmission from the Pleiades sector, Jackson announced. The collective's regional governor is requesting terms of surrender. Similar messages coming in from 6 other sectors. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Send them the predetermined terms. Immediate cessation of all hostilities, withdrawal of collective forces from subjugated worlds, and transfer of control to the local planetary governments we've helped prepare. Val Theron watched as more surrender notifications appeared on the display. You're not just defeating us, he observed. You're dismantling the entire system we built over millennia. A system built on coercion and false promises, Chen countered. We're replacing it with something better. A true alliance of free worlds, each maintaining their sovereignty while working together for mutual benefit. The tactical display shifted again, showing the larger strategic picture. Across collective space, quantum communication networks were being reprogrammed, defensive grids transferred to local control, and garrison forces peacefully surrendering to previously hidden resistance movements. New report from Deep Space Division, Jackson said. The quantum suppression field is holding. Collective reinforcements remain isolated in their home systems, unable to coordinate or mount an effective response. Chen turned to Val Theron. Your choice now is simple. Help us make this transition peaceful, or watch from detention as we dismantle your empire piece by piece. Either way, the collective as you knew it ends today. The Supreme Observer studied the display, watching as centuries of collective dominance unraveled in a matter of hours. You realize some will resist, he warned. Not every sector governor will surrender as easily as these have. We know, Chen acknowledged. That's why this isn't just a military operation. While our ships secure space assets and crucial infrastructure, teams of human diplomats are already meeting with local leaders throughout collective space. We're offering something you never did, genuine independence with the promise of equal partnership. Another wave of surrender notifications lit up the display. The tide of liberation continued to rise, unstoppable and overwhelming. Humanity's long-hidden strength was reshaping the galaxy, not through conquest, but through carefully planned and executed liberation. Admiral, Jackson called out, the Arcturus fleet is requesting permission to proceed to Phase 2. Chen nodded. Give the order. Begin deploying the quantum communication relays. It's time to show the galaxy what true cooperation looks like. As her orders were relayed, Chen watched Earth's vessels take up positions throughout former collective space, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a new era. The oceans that had hidden humanity's strength for so long had given birth to a force for change that would reshape the galaxy forever. A new dawn for the galaxy. 1 year after Earth's emergence, the Galactic Assembly held its first formal session in a place that perfectly symbolized humanity's journey from secrecy to leadership, an underwater city in Earth's Pacific Ocean. Representatives from over 200 formerly subjugated worlds gathered in a vast transparent dome, the ocean's depths visible above them, and Earth's hidden shipyards still active in the trenches below. Admiral Helena Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the Assembly's Security Council, stood at the podium addressing the gathered delegates. The chamber's quantum translation field ensured every species could understand her words perfectly, one of countless technologies humanity had developed in secret and now shared freely. 1 year ago, we emerged from our oceans to end an era of domination, Chen began. Today, we gather to ensure such domination never rises again. The assembled delegates, a stunning array of species from across the galaxy, watched as a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed the current state of known space, with green indicators representing liberated worlds and blue ones, marking the new quantum communication network that linked them together. The transition has not been without challenges, Chen continued. 17 collective holdout forces required military intervention. 42 worlds needed significant economic support to establish self-governance. But today, I can report that the last collective resistance cell has surrendered, and every former subject world is now self-governing. In the audience, Valtherin, no longer supreme observer but now serving as a technical advisor to the Assembly, watched with a mix of resignation and growing appreciation. The humans had not just defeated the collective, they had replaced it with something genuinely better. Our deep oceans once hid our greatest achievements, Chen explained, gesturing to the vast waterscape visible through the dome. Now they host our greatest collaborative effort, the Galactic Science Institute. The holographic display shifted to show the network of underwater research facilities that now hosted scientists from across the galaxy. Former collective technology was being studied alongside human innovations, creating breakthroughs that benefited all species. But perhaps our most significant achievement, Chen continued, has been the establishment of the Sovereignty Preservation Protocol. The display changed again, showing the intricate network of quantum sensors and rapid response fleets that now protected member worlds from external interference. The same technology humanity had used to hide their own development now helped guarantee the independence of other civilizations. Commander Jackson, now Director of Interstellar Security, stepped forward to explain the technical aspects. The network ensures that no species can ever again secretly manipulate or dominate another. Any attempt at unauthorized technological intrusion or military aggression triggers an immediate response from the nearest defense fleet. In the depths below the assembly hall, automated shipyards continued their work, but with a crucial difference. Now they produced vessels for all member worlds, helping young civilizations develop their own defense capabilities under careful oversight. We understand the irony, Chen acknowledged. Humanity spent centuries hiding our true capabilities, only to now champion absolute transparency. But our deception had a purpose beyond self-preservation. We needed to understand domination to prevent it. The holographic display shifted one final time, showing the location of Earth's massive hidden fleet, now transformed into the Foundation Defense Force, staffed by crews from all member worlds and dedicated to preserving galactic peace. The oceans that sheltered our ships now welcome students and scientists from across the galaxy. The quantum technologies we developed in secret now connect worlds in open communication. The shipyards that built our hidden Armada now serve all species equally. In the audience, a young representative from one of the first worlds to be liberated raised a hand. But how can we be certain Earth won't simply become the new collective? Your technology still surpasses ours in many areas. Chen smiled. A fair question. Which is why today, we're announcing the final phase of our emergence. Complete technological transparency. Every advancement humanity achieved during our centuries of preparation will be shared with all member worlds. The announcement sent a ripple of astonishment through the chamber. Even Valtherin's crystalline form flickered in surprise. We hid our strength once out of necessity, Chen explained. We will never hide it again. Every member world will have access to our quantum physics understanding, our subspace engineering principles, our ocean-based manufacturing techniques. Knowledge, we believe, should flow as freely as the waters that sheltered us. The assembly hall erupted in approval. Representatives from formerly subjugated worlds who had once feared trading one master for another now saw the truth. Humanity had not sought to replace the collective's dominance, but to end the very concept of galactic domination. Let this assembly hall, built in the depths that kept our secrets, now stand as a monument to openness, Chen concluded. Let the oceans that hid our strength now nurture the strength of all species, and let us ensure that never again will any civilization need to hide its true potential out of fear. As the session concluded, delegates moved to the observation decks to watch massive ships emerge from and descend into the depths. No longer hidden, no longer secrets, but symbols of a new era of true cooperation. The galaxy had been transformed not by conquest or dominance, but by humanity's patient determination to build something better. The waters that had hidden humanity's greatest achievements now cradled the future of all species. And in the depths below, the shipyards continued their work, building not weapons of war, but vessels of exploration and discovery for a galaxy finally united in genuine peace.